You've read the title, you know what this video is about. I'm going to be explaining every single reason that you're not shredded. And hopefully you're not doing any of these, but if you are, this is your way to know. And at least you know now and you won't make the same mistake again. So first up, we got if it fits your macros. And what this is basically not eating completely clean and like sliding a burger or a pizza or just unhealthy food in general now and again. And people might think, oh, this is okay because you can still hit your total calories for the day. But the thing is, these foods are so unsatiating that a lot of the time you're going to slip over with your calories and it's going to completely destroy your cut. And for that reason, I'm going to put it as barrier to sub 15% because up to 15%, I think you can get away with it. But once you're trying to get to that 12% goal or 10% goal, it becomes very difficult to incorporate unhealthy foods with that. So for that reason, it's got to go barrier to sub 15%. And next up, we've got GLP-1s. If you're not already aware what a GLP-1 is, it's basically an appetite suppressant. So it makes you feel fuller while eating less. But the problem with these is they do have quite a few side effects, which I think a lot of people seem to forget. Like they think, oh, it's not steroids, it's just a peptide, so it's fine. But there are quite serious side effects to some of them. They are definitely going to help you lose weight. So for that reason, I'm going to have to put them in non-issue. This next one, I think a lot of people don't actually realise how much it hinders their progress. And it's not tracking cardio. For example, your maintenance calories for the day are about 2,000 for most people. Maybe a bit higher, a bit lower, give or take based on your weight. But you can burn like an extra 600 to 1,000 calories a day with cardio. If you're not tracking that and not knowing how much cardio you've actually done, then you don't actually know what your deficit is, and that's going to completely destroy your calorie deficit, and I'm going to put it into completely ruining your cut. Next up, we got something pretty similar. It's not tracking macros. I think at this point, everyone knows that you need to track your macros. Like, if you're not tracking macros, then you're simply not going to get lean. And I don't actually know where to put this one because it would have been previously a common beginner mistake. But now that so many people know it, I think that's got to go and completely ruining your cut because you can't cut without tracking macros. Unless obviously you're eating like only whole foods completely clean because it's pretty difficult to overeat them. But realistically, no one's doing that. Next up, we've got no cardio at all. So, I mean, this is even worse than not tracking your cardio because you're just doing none at all. In fact, I might move not tracking cardio to barrier to sub 15% because no cardio at all, I mean, it's going to be pretty difficult to lose weight if you even lose weight at all. So, yeah, that's going to have to go and completely ruin your cut. And by the way, just to clarify, when I say lose weight, I mean lose fat. We don't want to lose muscle while cutting. So yeah, that one goes in common beginner mistake. Next up, we got refeed days. So what a refeed day is pretty much is bringing your calories back up to maintenance, like for a day to bring back your energy levels. But honestly, this can be fixed by carb cycling. Personally, I don't do carb cycling when I'm on a cut. What carb cycling is basically is on your training days, you increase your carbs to provide energy for that training, obviously. And that puts you in around the maintenance anyway. And then you're in a harsh deficit for the rest of your days of the week. I think that is more optimal than refeed days. Because you could do a refeed day on a day where you're not training, and then that's just completely pointless. Because the extra calories that you're adding, they're doing nothing. So I think I'm going to put refeed days into common beginner mistake. Or actually, no, slowing your cut, because it is literally slowing your cut. Next up, we got overtraining. And I think this is a lot bigger of an issue than most people think it is, because if you're overtraining, you obviously can't go to complete failure on every single set because you're doing so many sets, especially on a cut because your energy is so depleted. I mean, for the most part anyway, in comparison to a bulk. So when you're overtraining on a cut, I mean, you're just going to lose so much muscle that you may as well stop cutting right there because you're going to look awful by the end of it. So for that reason, I think I'm going to have to put overtraining into... I'll put it into common beginner mistake because it is still quite a done thing. Like, a lot of people still overtrain. Yeah, it's a massive issue. And next up, we've got the keto diet. And honestly, the amount of diet plans that are about nowadays that people follow, and they just get no results and wonder why. Diet plans are a mass thing. Like, they want as many people to do them as possible, obviously. The companies who run them. Or if it's just a diet plan that someone has like started doing and then it's just gained popularity, like the keto diet. But the problem with this diet is you're obviously dropping your carbs to nothing, which in your initial 1 to 2 weeks, you are going to lose a lot of weight, but it's going to be pretty much only water. Completely depletes your energy. You feel horrible on it. I've done it myself, so I know. And for that reason, I'm going to put it into completely ruining your cut because it's just not an optimal way to cut at all. Next one, we're getting a bit scientific, but we've got simple carbs. And what a simple carb is, it digests very fast and it gives you a quick source of energy. So you think things like chocolate bars, anything high in like processed sugar, all that sort of thing. Rice is actually a fairly simple carb. You could have 200 grams of potato and 200 grams of rice, and the rice seems healthy, but it's actually going to make you nowhere near as full as the potato will. I'm going to put this into common beginner mistake because I think it is really easy to do, but it does definitely hinder your progress quite a bit because it makes it so much harder to stay in a deficit, and your chances of spilling your calories over are much higher. And next up, we got metabolic adaptation. Obviously, the leaner you get, the less weight you've got on your body, and your body adapts to this, and you therefore need less calories at maintenance. So let's say you start your cut and you're losing weight on 2,200 calories a day. That might drop to about 2,000 by the end of your cut. But that's in like a pretty extreme case, like if you're losing maybe 10% body fat. For most people, this isn't going to be a big issue. So I'm going to put it into not an issue because it really doesn't have much of an impact compared to what people think. Next up, we got liquid calories. And I think by now, everyone should know that there are calories in drinks. It's a pretty simple thing to know at this point. So probably slow in your cut because it's not a beginner mistake at this point. And it is definitely slow in your cut. Next up, we got the AI tracking apps. And these have become quite popular recently, but I mean, how are you going to track the sauce in a burger, for example? They're just so inaccurate and you can't track your calories properly. Honestly, if you're using an AI tracking app to track your calories, you're not tracking your calories. And for that reason, I'm going to have to put it in completely ruining your cut. We've got being in too much of an aggressive deficit. So people don't realize, but if you're in an extreme calorie deficit, you are going to lose muscle. And obviously training hard and maximizing your protein intake is going to help with that a lot. But if you're in like a 1,500 calorie deficit, for example, there is going to be muscle loss. So I like to stick to between 500 to 800 calorie deficit when I'm cutting because it's fast enough that you lose fat like fairly fast, but not too fast that you lose muscle. So I'm going to put aggressive deficit into common beginner mistake because it doesn't slow your cut, but I mean, it is going to make you lose muscle. Next up, we got being in too small of a calorie deficit. I mean, this just goes straight and slow in your cut. In such a small deficit, it's so easy to spill over as well. If you eat like 2 small like snack chocolate bars, you're already spilled over your calories. It's just not optimal whatsoever. Next, we got a diet too high in fat. And what I mean by this is picking up the 20% fat beef instead of the 5%. And this actually has quite a big impact on your calorie deficit because fat has so many calories in. So there is some truth to the quote that fat makes you fat because it kind of does in some sense. Yeah, on a cut, I would stick to 50 to 70 grams of fat per day. And I think that would be good. But a high fat diet, I'm going to put it into slow in your cut because it doesn't ruin it, but it is quite a big issue. Especially when you're getting into like the sub 15% range of body fat. Finally, we've got protein intake as a whole. So I mean this in too little and too high protein because it is possible to have too much protein. The most optimal range for protein is around 2 to 2.2 grams per kilo body weight. anymore, and you're not really getting any extra gains, and you're going to have to take down your carbs, which is going to ruin your energy. Any less, and you're probably going to either lose muscle or only maintain, which neither of which you want. Ideally, we want to build fat on a cut. Build fat, build muscle on a cut. So it doesn't slow your cut, and it doesn't ruin your cut either. But I am going to put it into common beginner mistake. Okay, so this is the final tier list, and if you think there's anything that I missed out, definitely drop it in the comments. I'm going to pick one thing out of all of these for the worst thing you can possibly do. But to be honest, usually where people make the mistake is a combination of all of these, or a few. But the worst thing I think you can do is probably not tracking your macros, because I mean, that is the staple of being in a calorie deficit. You need to know what calories you're eating to make sure you are in a deficit. And if you're not doing that, then you're not going to lose weight. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Any thoughts, drop them in the comments, and be sure to subscribe, because I'll be making more videos similar to this, explaining stuff like cutting, bulking, etc., etc. So yeah, be tuned for that.